All right, we're back for week 2 of the MaxPreps Podcast. Steve Montoya, Zack, Poff, and we got a monster week ahead
Buckle
of us.
up.
Yeah. Before we get to that, though, I do want to talk a little bit about last week, just about the rankings and Lone Peak upsetting Corner Canyon. That's got to be a tough job figuring out where teams go. But last week was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it just puts me in a weird spot 'cause it's like, well, Lone Peak beats Corner Canyon, but Corner Canyon beat IMG, so then you got to compare losses.
Right.
And it's just a worse loss for Corner Canyon to have than IMG, and that's why you see a team like IMG ranked ahead of Corner Canyon compared to the head-to-head because, you know, they had a loss to Lone Peak, a team that was outside of the top 100, and then they jump all the way up to 17 with that big time. When I tried to tell you guys, though, like, hey, this is an upset alert game for sure. Lone Peak's going to be ready to go, you know. Corner Canyon just had that huge win against IMG, so I figured it was going to be a tough outing, and tough news for Corner Canyon. Jerome Miles, 5-star wide receiver, got hurt in the first quarter, and they just couldn't really overcome that injury. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery and he's able to come back this year, because I think Corner Canyon's still going to have a good chance to run the table and win another state title.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's get to this week coming up.
Crazy week. And
we have to start, obviously, with Friday night in Santa Ana as it's 1 versus 2. Bishop Gorman coming into town. You're headed to that game.
Yeah.
That game is just absolutely filled with talent left and right all over the field. What's your first thoughts on this game overall? What are you most excited about seeing? What are you thinking for this game? Let's break it down.
Yeah, it's just I love this matchup. It's so evenly matched. And, you know, games like this usually won in the trenches. But I don't know who's got a better offensive line or a better defensive line. So that's going to be a fun matchup to see. You know, Modern Day's offensive line is loaded. But then you look at Gorman's front seven, big-time playmakers. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to see. But, yeah, we came out with an article earlier this week. There's 38 players rated as a 3-star recruit or higher.
Crazy.
And then there's another 19, so 57 players have at least one FBS offer. So, you know, you got backups out there that already got offers to play at a Power 4 school. So it's impressive, man. The talent's just off the charts here. And it's just such an evenly matched game where it's going to come down to which team is more disciplined and which team is able to win the turnover battle. Those are going to be the two crucial areas. Cut down on penalties and get the turnovers.
Yep.
You do that, you're going to probably win the game. But I've been impressed with both quarterbacks that have taken over this year. You know, Dash Byerly, a 2025 Washington commit for Modern Day. He looked good in his season opener against Corona Centennial. And then Melvin Spicer, he impressed me a ton in that comeback win against Aquinas. They were down 21-10, third quarter. He had a big second half, and they came back and won 29-21, setting up this showdown. But yeah, I mean, this is the number one get your popcorn ready game of the 2024 season.
Yeah, that's for sure, and it's going to be a hot one down there in Santa Ana. Heat wave in Southern California may be over 100 degrees close to kickoff, so maybe advantage for Bishop Gorman playing in that heat.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. I mean, California, we've been getting heat waves out here, too. I mean, out in Vacaville, it's been over 100 all week this week, too. So I'm guessing it's been, you know, there's been a heat wave in SoCal, too. So I don't think that's going to be a huge issue. But, yeah, you know, Vegas, you're a little more accustomed to the dry heat. So who you leaning? Who you think you're taking in this game? I'll give my pick after. But
I think this is the year that Bishop Gorman pulls off a big win.
Yeah.
It was close last time these two teams played in Vegas. I think this is bigger for the Gales than it is Modern Day, in my opinion. Just to go out and see if they get this win, it's going to be tough not to, you know, think Bishop Gorman should be number one at the end. I know they still have a lot of games
Hey,
left.
I tell you what, winner of this game, they run the table, they're going to probably finish number one. I mean, you never know. We'll see what happens, but the winner of this game most likely will control their own destiny the rest of the way, especially you look at Gorman. They already got Aquinas win on the road.
That's
and
true.
then if they get another road win against Modern Day, and then they play Orange Lutheran next week,
That's
that's a big time out of state schedule right there.
For sure. And we're going to have that game covered up and down. You're going to be there.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting plays, doing all that. So.
Yep, we'll have live scoring. We'll have live audio.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that game covered up and down. We'll have video immediately after the game or even during the game. So we'll have that that game covered for sure.
Just for the record, I'm going Modern Day.
Okay.
So we're different.
All right.
We're different on this one. I just think Mater Dei is the most complete team in the country. I think they're going to find ways to make plays, and I think Nasir Wyatt's a guy to watch, and Sean Scott. I think those guys are going to find a way to get pressure off the edge. And Bishop Gorman has the best offensive line, and they've been playing great football so far. And S.J. Alofatuli still hasn't played a game yet for him, who is probably their best offensive lineman going into the year. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one, man. The 14th time number 1 versus number 2 play since 2000, and the second time these two schools have been number 1, number 2 playing each other. The last one was back in 2017. JT Daniels beat DTR 35-21.
Look, you see, I got all these notes and everything. It's just in his. It's up here.
Yeah, I love high school football, man. It's just all right here. So
that's for sure. All right, let's jump to another game out in Florida. This is a good one. We were just talking about this right before we went on. Cocoa against IMG. IMG bounced back, as you said earlier, with a big win last week. Cocoa off to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, they're looking good.
You're liking Cocoa in this game.
Yeah, I'm leaning Cocoa here, and it's just because of the quarterback wide receiver connection they have in Brady Hart, a 2026 Michigan commit, and then Javon Boggs. This dude's an absolute baller, and he really, he shined last year in that Aquinas loss, even though they probably should have won that game. There's little clock problems towards the end, but we won't get into that. It's a sore subject for Cocoa, but yeah, Boggs, he's that dude. Against Aquinas last year in that tough loss, he went for 11 grabs, $180, and 4 touchdowns. So he has shown me in big-time matchups against big-time talent, he's going to ball out, and I think he's going to be the difference. But Ty Hawkins, SMU commit at quarterback for IMG, he's been playing great so far this year. He's had at least 260 yards of total offense and 4 touchdowns in each game so far this year against elite talent. So it's going to be a fun one. I think there's going to be a lot of points on the scoreboard, and I think Coco's going to go into IMG and walk out with a 1-score dub.
Ooh, all right.
Who are you taking?
I'm going to roll with you.
Yeah,
all right. In our picks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think you got a 1-game cushion on me right now. All of us here, we're doing, our top 10 games of the week picks. We won't bring up my record last week. I went 4-6. So, yeah, it wasn't good.
All right. Let's jump to St. Francis Academy against Orange.
The games this week are insane.
It is. And then I was looking at just their schedules. I know you put out toughest schedules in the country. Just looking at St. Francis Academy and Orange Lutheran's schedules, they're no joke.
No.
I mean, and it starts right here. St. Francis going out to Cali to play Orange Lutheran. What a game.
Yeah, and you look at this next 3-week stretch for St. Francis, Orange Lutheran, and then they go to Texas, play number 6 Duncanville. And then the week after that, they go back to SoCal and play number 1 Mater Dei. So
a lot of travel miles.
Yeah, definitely a lot of travel miles. Yeah, this is going to be a fun game, Trinity League has looked outstanding this year. They've been the best conference of football for a very, very long time, and they're showing it this year the way they're playing. This is a toss-up for me. Like, I can go either way, but I'm leaning the home team here. I think Orange Lutheran's going to make enough plays. TJ Lateef, Nebraska commit at quarterback. He's playing good ball so far this year. St. Francis offense has looked a lot better this year compared to last year. Tristan Saab, a sophomore quarterback, he's playing elite ball so far for St. Francis. So I think this is going to be a good game, but I'm leaning OLU. I think they're going to get this win. And touching on the toughest schedules, Orange Lutheran goes out to Vegas next week. They play Bishop Gorman, and then they play at Sierra Canyon, and then they play at number 3 St. John Bosco. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, buckle up.
Yeah, you love it when teams like these teams loaded with talent fill their schedule up with.
It makes my job easier because a lot of these top teams are actually playing each other, which it's great to see if you're a high school football fan. That's what you want.
Yep. Yeah, let's keep rolling. I mean, this is another good one. Bergen Catholic, Massillon, Washington playing.
Yeah.
Bergen Catholic, lost last week. I think for the Tigers, Massillon, this is a big game for them to kind of to put them on the map a little bit more. Obviously, they're a program rich in history, but to play another highly ranked team, I think this is good for Massillon, especially if they could pull out the dub.
Yeah, and it's crazy, Massillon, one of the most winning programs, but last year was the first time they ever won an actual OHSAA state title.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, and they started playing in a playoff format back in the 70s. So, yeah, this is a good opportunity for Bergen Catholic to bounce back, too.
Yeah.
They had a tough game last week. They're playing IMG Academy. Quincy Porter had a huge game, though, in a losing effort. They lost 27-14, but I think he's going to have a big game, and I think Bergen's going to pull out the dub here. But Jalen Slaughter, he's been playing great for Massillon this year. He's thrown for over 700 yards, 7 touchdowns in his first 2 games. But I didn't really like what I saw when they played NFL Academy to open the season. They squeaked out a 35-20 win. They looked good last week, won 45-0. But I think Bergen's going to be a little too much up front, and I think Quincy Porter is going to be a difference maker.
Hey, I got to shout out their fan base, the Tiger fan base. They're a passionate group. They love their high school.
Yeah, Nate Moore was our coach of the year last year. Led Massillon to a 16-0 record. They had notable wins against St. Edward, St. John's, and beat Hoban in the state title game. So
that's a good resume right there. All right, it's good to have Texas back playing.
Yes,
it is good to have Texas back playing for sure. And
not for Creekside though last week.
Not for Creekside last week, as DeSoto's just 70-0.
70-0. Could have been worse too.
I think you tweeted out about their offense. Can they even be stopped? They got North Crowley who's playing well. Yeah. This should be a good game in Texas, but man, DeSoto's offense looks pretty good.
And they got a good defense too. Kiki Abrams, outstanding edge rusher. He's a little undersized, so he's not a 5-star or 4-star, but you look at his numbers, man. This dude's posting 20-plus sacks every year his last 2 seasons. So Dalen Singleton, a stud wide receiver, he's been putting up numbers. I think he had 2 touchdowns last week, over 100 yards. Kelton Ryan came in, new quarterback, Virginia Tech commit. He looked great with his arm and legs. North Crowley's good, though. This is a team, they've lost 1 game since the beginning of last year. That one loss came against Duncanville in the 6A D1 semifinals. So they're trying to put Fort Worth on the map here this week, but I don't think you're going to be able to find it on the map. I think DeSoto's going to win again. They're too explosive on both sides of the ball. Yeah. I think DeSoto's going to be undefeated going into that Duncanville matchup on October 11th.
Ooh, yeah, that's going to be a good one. All right, let's go back to California. We got St. John Bosco, Sierra Canyon.
Yeah.
Sierra Canyon, early in the season, got beat pretty bad by
handily.
Sarah
I was kind of surprised.
So that it took a little bit away from this game, but this is still a pretty good game. And Sierra Canyon could easily bounce back, especially if they somehow could pull off the upset here against St. John Bosco.
And if St. John Bosco does what we're doing, Jay Sarah beat them 35-7. We got no problem. We can just go in there and show up. But that's going to be a problem if they go into that game like that. Sierra Canyon is a good football team. They beat Oaks Christian 35-10 last week. Oaks Christian's a pretty solid team down in SoCal. But, yeah, Bosco, man. Matai Fuyava, junior quarterback, he's been playing great so far this season. He's got 3 big-time wide receivers to get the ball to in Madden Williams, Daniel Odom, and Carson Clark. I think they're going to have a field day. Even though Sierra Canyon does have a great defense, Richard Wesley, a 5-star edge, number 2 overall recruit in 2027. They got a big-time secondary, Madden Riordan, a 2026 USC commit. I had to get a little USC love in here. Nice first win, by the way.
I was thinking about you.
But he's got 5 INTs this year, so you got to be careful throwing against that secondary. But Bosco, I think they're just too good on both sides of the ball. And, hey, if Mater Dei wins, Bosco wins, Gorman loses at 2, you could see number 1, number 2 eventually later in the year, too.
We've seen it before.
Yeah. The last 5 1 versus 2 matchups have been Mater Dei versus St. John Bosco.
Yep. All right, NorCal, Sarah, De La Salle. We were talking Folsom last week, and you said it on the podcast last week. Good coaching in football, any sport can help you win big time. And Sarah had a great game plan against Folsom. They were locking down their receivers, made Ryder Lyons. I was at the game, made him scramble and try to find, and he just couldn't find open receivers. They did a real good job. And this game, talk about good coaching, this is about as good as it gets on both sides of the ball. They're very similar to each other. They know each other. And this is basically a game who's going to – obviously they still have to play their seasons, but who's going to be playing in the NorCal final?
I thought that's what last week's game was.
Right.
So Sarah winning that game, that really gave them the upper hand. If they beat Folsom and De La Salle in back-to-back weeks, if they run the table, it's obviously a lock. They're going to represent NorCal in the open game. Even if they lose a game after that, there still will be a discussion like, they do have wins over Folsom and De La Salle, so they would still have a chance to represent, Northern California in the open game. That'd be the 4th straight year. This is Sarah is a team. They got a good offensive line and they have a good secondary, and it showed last week. And De La Salle, they're going to run the ball. It's pretty obvious what De La Salle is going to do. They're going to tackle well, and they're going to run the ball. It was nice to see Deuce Jones-Drew out there popping one for, a 60-yard touchdown. First touchdown of the season for the Spartans. Kid's only a sophomore. Yeah. He's a little faster than his dad, probably. Maurice Jones-Drew, he could run, but he was more a bruiser. Mm-hmm. But I'm leaning De La Salle here. Yeah. I was leaning Folsom last week, so Sarah's probably loving hearing this. But I think De La Salle is going to be able to run the ball. Because Folsom did have a little bit of success running the ball a little bit last week. And I think De La Salle is going to have some success this week running the ball. And I think defensively, they're going to have a better game plan than Folsom did. And I think De La Salle is going to win this one by a score. I think it's going to be a very competitive game, but I think the Spartans are back. And the winner of this game is going to have a good chance of jumping the MaxPreps top 25 next week too, because both these teams are just outside of the top 25 right now.
And St. John Bosco heads to Sarah next week.
Yeah, next week.
Believe.
Yeah, so that'll be
another big.
Yeah, game. If Sarah wins this one, that'll be a fun NorCal SoCal matchup too. So
I love to see that. I mean, that's awesome that St. John Bosco's going out. Playing.
I believe Bosco was going to come up here and play Folsom the COVID year, but then obviously a lot of plans got changed that year. So.
All right, let's go back to Florida. American Heritage against Chaminade Madonna, and what a rough start for. Yeah. Chaminade Madonna last week. You were saying block PAT was the difference in that game. 2 close losses for them. So they're right in it. But they're 0-2.
It's crazy. That's what people do sometimes. They look and see, they're 0-2. They suck.
Right.
But if you actually watch the game, especially the Bosco game, Chaminade Madonna had their chances. And against Blanche Eli, not taking anything away, but Tyler Chance got hurt, their QB1. Mm-hmm. He got hurt in the second quarter, and Chaminade was still able to come back. I think they were still kind of overlooking them too, because you play Bosco, play them tough, you're looking good. You got Heritage the following week, so they're looking ahead. They came back, had a chance to win at the end. Field goal got blocked. Then in overtime, they scored. And then, as you mentioned, the extra point got blocked, game over. But, it's going to be a tough week for them. I think Heritage is going to win. Dia Bell's playing great ball, 2026 5-star Texas commit. Malachi Tony, he's a 10 out of 10 on the sauce meter. You get the ball to this dude.
10 out of 10,
He's a 10 out of 10, man. He's the real.
That's saying so.
He's the real deal. And, Byron Lewis in the backfield, they got a 3-headed monster. It's going to be tough. And Chaminade's defense has not looked good early in the season, so I'd be surprised if Chaminade doesn't start 0-3. I think the last time they went 0-3 to start a year was back in 2013.
Wow. All right, this one, Kentucky, Ohio. All right, Boyle County, St. Edward. St. Edward, they're a tough squad.
Yes, they are.
And so when you're going up against it, you're getting some hard-nosed football, and St. Ed's is looking pretty good. And tell us a little bit about Boyle County as well.
Yeah, I got one name for you. And it's funny, when I say this name, it's going to sound like a Key and Peele skit. Montaven Quisenberry.
Well, okay.
He's a 2025 West Virginia commit. We came out with our best player in each state before the season started. Yeah. He was an easy choice for Kentucky. He reminds me of Rondell Moore, who was a former Kentucky star at Trinity. He is just a dude. You get him the ball, he's going to make plays. He's another 10 out of 10. I'm throwing a lot of 10 out of 10s on the sauce meter.
Mark that one.
I'm telling you, man, Montaven Quisenberry in the open field is electric, but he's going up against St. Edward, a team that made the biggest jump in the rankings last week from 25 to 12. They beat St. Joe's Prep, a Philly powerhouse, 35-21, scored all 35 points in the second quarter. Junior running back Brandon White, he's a dude. He had over 100 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns. And Bradley Eaton, underrated DB, plays everywhere for St. Ed's on defense. He had an interception, block punt that resulted in a touchdown, and he also housed the kickoff return 93 yards. So he's a guy, wherever he's on the field, he's going to make plays. And I think St. Edward's just too tough for Boyle County. But watch out for Quisenberry.
I'm watching Quisenberry.
That's for sure. I'm telling you, man, he's a baller. It's going to be a fun game. St. Ed's has won 3 straight D1 state titles in Ohio, and Boyle County's won 4 straight 4A state titles in Kentucky. Okay. So you got a matchup of some defending state champs.
Yeah, awesome to see.
All right. Going Boyle County?
I mean, I like Boyle County, but I think I might pick St. Edward in this one. All right, let's finish this out in Georgia. Langston Hughes against Douglas County. You're high on Douglas County. Got them ranked number 16. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, one of the premier states when it comes to high school football. This is an offense versus defense matchup for me. Langston Hughes, they've scored 52 points in their first 2 games. Had a nice win against Westlake to open the season. Douglas County is a defense giving up 10 points a game. They're loaded on both sides of the ball. Love Aaron Gregory, a two-way standout. Devin Carter transferred over there from Cedar Grove, so they got playmakers on offense. DJ Bordeaux has been a stud this year at quarterback. They got some dudes on defense. I think it's going to be a tough game for Langston Hughes, but both these teams are going to be competing for state titles this year. I think Langston Hughes will be a player in 5A, and I think Douglas County is going to be a threat in 6A. So, but I'm leaning Douglas County here. I just think they got too many dogs on that side of the ball on defense.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for week 2 of our MaxPreps podcast. Zach's going to be on the ground.
I can't wait, man.
Modern day Bishop Gorman.
Yeah.
Follow him on Twitter, and you'll get all the live action for sure. We'll be back next week talking about that game and looking ahead. Thanks for joining us. Zack, Poff, Steve Montoya. We'll catch you later.